Prince Harry, via a spokesman, released a statement where he accused a story basically on the front page of The Sun. He accused the men in grey suits of sabotage. Now, when I first read this, I had kind of what jumped into my mind was the famous kind of Carry On Cleo sketch where Kenneth Williams playing Julius Caesar was saying, infamy, infamy, they've all got it in for me. But this is quite serious because there are strong connotations here when he's talking about men in grey suits. So what's the history of this attack on the kind of palace aides?
Well, I mean, the first thing I thought of was Diana, his mother, because she, of course, attacked the men in grey suits when she felt she was being briefed against all those years ago back in the 90s. Congratulations on the scoop, by the way. And I think what's remarkable in the weeks since Harry and Charles have met is that they've mostly kept a lid on it until your front page there. Yeah, Prince Harry claiming sabotage. And I think, obviously it's very early days. Both sides are still very cautious, but there's no immediate way back for him.
What do you read into the palace reaction? Bemused, perplexed and saddened by Harry's accusations of sabotage against men in grey suits?
I think the palace reaction is, it rings true, but I also think that they know that this has come at a very interesting time for Harry. I mean, we do always talk about Harry, but we need to talk about Meghan and Harry as a duo. Meghan is probably in one of the worst professional places she's ever been. Her podcast has been effectively cancelled, that she had Confessions of a Female Founder. Netflix is looking for first deal. Her jam didn't sell out when it was released. She's in a really bad way, and I know that I do say this quite often, but I do think the money is drying up as a couple, and that's why they now want reconciliation, because for the past 5 years, all they've been doing is dragging the King and Prince William and Catherine into the mud. And now they want reconciliation? The timing is really strange, and I think the palace is privy to the fact that there's something up, maybe, in Hollywood, in Montecito.
Do you think the timing is difficult to understand? Why now? I mean, Harry did say in that interview with The Guardian, he said, well, the next year with the King, the coming year with the King is my main focus, which kind of worried me. I mean, it's almost like you put a time limit on the King. It's not true, by the way, that anyone's briefing on the King like that. But why now? Why is it so important? Why is he getting so angry about this sabotage and reconciliation, or alleged sabotaging of a reconciliation now?
I think it may be as mundane as logistics. We knew he was going to be in the UK in September. The Well-Child Awards, for example, he never misses the Well-Child Awards. In fact, it was the Well-Child Awards in 2022 was the only reason he was in the UK when the Queen was gravely ill, and then he went up.
It was on the same day, wasn't it? Literally, yeah.
So I think it may be as something as mundane as logistics, and of course it would have been really weird if he had been in London and Nottingham for 4 or 5 days as he was and hadn't gone to see his father, the King. The previous comment he made when he lost the High Court case on security about he didn't know how much longer his father had, that obviously went down like a lead balloon. But the King is still undergoing treatment for cancer, and I think if Harry hadn't seen him on this visit, that would have been really odd.
Well, he could have. I mean, the King's been in Balmoral, still up in Scotland, spending lots of days relaxing. He's had all his family up throughout August. I think literally every member of the family, even Andrew went up there even Andrew and Fergie went up there for 5 or 6 days. If he wanted to see his father, Simon, could he have not at some stage? The King's still there till the end of September. Could he just phone up to Aberdeen and sat around and met the King at Balmoral for a couple of days, rather than turning into what is effectively a circus over, 52 minutes inside Clarence House?
Yeah, well, it was a circus, wasn't it? We were both there, standing there in the pouring rain as his car turned up. Yes, he could do that. I go back to security, which with the court case we've covered several times, which he eventually lost. It's all rooted in that, isn't it? He's proving a point that he is not safe. He is a target in the UK. He should be afforded the same level of security he had before Megxit. So, yeah, I mean, part of that circus is created by everything that goes around, his security detail.
How do you think we should move forward? We want to be stuck here in this moment for too much longer with this, with Harry yelling sabotage. The King's team or the palace are saying they're a bit perplexed and bemused and saddened by his reaction. But going back a couple of weeks ago, we were hearing things from I believe, from California, that there were moves to maybe have a half in, half out for public engagements with the king. I think there was a line about trying to show up William and show that he could actually do some work. I mean, where are we going on this?
Well, that week of engagements a couple of weeks back, where he did Well Child and he went to Nottingham for the youth project there and so on, that was classic old school Harry, and he's really, really good at it. And it was a bit of, this is, look at what you're missing, I think. The half in, half out thing, William is implacably opposed to that. We believe Charles is as well. The Queen went along with it during that Sandringham summit. When they had the world was their oyster, as we know. The Queen had given them that Commonwealth role. I don't see that happening any time soon, but maybe in the next year he will bring the family over to see Charles, and hopefully, that things can sort of normalise after that. But I go back to the sadness of this, is the King has not seen those children for years. And, that you've got another branch of the family growing up in California.
Well, what do you think the end game is here, Samara? What do you think Harry's ending with this allegation of sabotage against the men in grey suits, the saddened and perplexed?
He's trying to spin this to win this, first of all. He's trying to spin it so that the royal family will then say, well, OK, we might try and let him in. But as you said, Simon, the late Queen said, you cannot have it both ways. You can't have your cake and eat it too. And to quote her, you can't, well, not to quote her, but she can't have the one in, one out policy. She wasn't a fan of that. And I think now he's trying to get his way in. Now that she's gone. But I think with Harry, as you said, when he was back here and he was doing those royal engagements, yes, he was great at them. He can only do tricks like that. He hasn't been good as a TV producer. He hasn't been good, doing polo, trying to get Netflix deals. Meghan can't do her cooking show. They've exhausted all other options. And so now it seems like they're just returning home. But the question will be, will the royal family allow that, as you said, Matt?
Well, he needs the reconciliation with his father. I mean, this is my point, is like, it's all fine and dandy coming back and having a bit of a roadshow for a couple of days, but without, proper chatting, proper meeting his father. It's just a random man coming back, doing a couple of charity events and going away.
Yeah, well, I think that's probably what it will be for a few years still. But he still has Invictus. He still has, the various... and then the sort of semi-state visits as well that they've done to Nigeria and Colombia and whatever. So, I don't know. I find it hard to see that they will be back as working members of the royal family. But we know, never say never.
Never say never. Well, in this industry, you never know what's going to happen sometimes. It changes week to week. Before we move on from Prince Harry, I just want to get a prediction maybe. Where will we be this time next year? Because you're talking about September. He's always over here in September, Simon. He comes over for Well Child. Last year, we didn't meet the King. This year, he did briefly meet the King. We're reporting that Harry's reaction was that it felt like an official visit. What are you thinking this time next year? We'll be sitting down here and discussing that it moved on from the official visit stage, and we've got Harry and the King walking around the garden, hugging, having loads of pictures, going to an engagement? Or are we going to be stuck in this moment?
Maybe not loads of pictures. I think, he's said he wants reconciliation. Maybe he will stump the bill for the full security that he wants for his family in London, which he feels he's not getting from the government and Scotland Yard after that court case. So maybe next year he brings the family over and there is, one official photo, but I don't think it'll be lots of engagements. How about you?
I mean, I don't see Meghan stepping foot in this country for a long time. I mean, she's even expressed sort of that herself. But in terms of Harry, I mean, I think that he's really trying to get back into the fold before his father, passes, because after that, I don't think there's a chance. So when we want to look 1 year into the future, yes, I would love happy families, but I don't think they trust Harry for a minute.